my nail beauties. Today I will show you how I used Burano's nail foil glue. I got this on Amazon, so let's get started. So first I like to file the natural nails like I would on a real hand. Anytime I practice, I just like to pretend I'm gonna do all the steps, you know, even though they're not necessary. So I'm just assuming here, I'm just gonna give a initial shape on the natural nail to all nails. This is a Tammy Taylor file. I think it's a 120 file, and these are my favorite files. For high quality files, they're pretty expensive. They go for over $1, but these you could get for 80 cents because they're disposable. So I truly recommend those. Now I go ahead and push the cuticle back, just like you would on a normal client. Customer. After pushing the cuticle back gently, I'm going to go ahead with my E-file and an arbor band at the lowest speed. And I'm just going to go over the natural nail without pressure at the lowest speed. And I just want to remove the shine from the natural nail. And here when I get close to the cuticle, I'm pretending that I'm removing any you know, dead cuticle that's stuck on the nail. So I'm not going to try to cut the cuticle or be very aggressive with it, because that could cause damages in the future. You could accidentally cut your customer, so you don't want to do none of that. So here I'm just doing the basic prep, and my e-file is the Coupa Mani Pro, and I love it. It's a portable one, it's rechargeable, so there's no cables, and that's what I love. And I also like Coupa because they do have service center and parts. Okay, so now I like to clean the dust off with the nail brush and some alcohol, 70% alcohol that I have in a spray bottle that I spray on the brush, and then I just brush down. Here, I'm using nail tips this time. I normally sculpt, but here I'm gonna do the nail tips because I want to practice how to do tips. So I have the Young Nails glue, some tips that I got. I don't even know where I got these tips. I don't know if I got them on Amazon or my local nail shop, but you just do a thin layer of this brush-on glue, which is my preferred method of using glue. If I use the other glue, the bottles, they always get stuck on my hands. So you just apply, you first measure the nail tip to make sure it measures to the sidewalls. And if you have to choose between a smaller nail and a larger nail, always go with the larger nail, because you could always file the sides, okay? But don't do a smaller nail because they'll just pop off. So you do a thin layer of the glue on the tip of the nail only, and then you place the tip, holding it down with pressure, and you want to kind of rock it on and then hold it down so the tip isn't like facing up, it's kind of like facing down. And so that's the best way I could recommend it, is like once you put the nail just right on the tip, measure it there. So that's a nice size. And then, oh, here I'm measuring a different size. And then just a thin layer. I really recommend the brush-on glue if you guys struggle with the other bottles. And it just lasts longer too, the bottle, because it's just securely sealed. And here I am gonna rock the tip over the nail, and then you kind of want to pressure the tip down at the front so it doesn't like face up or have this weird shape. Now this is what they taught me in nail school. You do a thin layer of glue over the nail tip just to seal any possible air pockets. You don't want any pockets. You don't want any water or anything coming in, seeping in to that nail bed, because any water coming in will create a safe haven for bacteria, and you could get your clients the greenies, and we don't want to do that. So here I'm gonna do short nails this time. So I'm still learning how to use tips, and so I'm just gonna eyeball it and cut them about the same length. I've been practicing forms for so long that I do struggle with tips, even though it sounds weird. I just struggle with tips actually at the end of the tip, like where do I leave the product? So after applying the tips, we do want to file the side walls just to make sure it's even with the natural nail. Like I said, not all tips are going to fit perfectly on your clients' nails. So you rather go on the bigger side on the sides, slightly bigger, and then just file off any excess on the sides. Now, the other thing I'm doing here is I am only, if you could tell, I already prepped the natural nail, so I don't need to file over the natural nail again. I'm just filing on the sides of the tip, the plastic tips, and then I am gonna file on top of the plastic tip to remove the shine. And also what you wanna do is you wanna make sure that you blend the connection where the tip and the natural nail meets. If you touch it, you'll notice there's a border, and so you wanna make sure that's smoothed out. So here, I'm still using my same 120 Tammy Taylor file. I think it's 120. And I am just, removing the shine and blending the tip with the natural nail. I'm really not trying to touch the natural nail at this point. Like I said, I already prepped that, and you don't have to over prep the natural nail. Here, I'm just smoothing out the tip with the natural nail. So you should be able to feel that it's smooth, and then just making sure that the side walls of the nail are even. And actually what I noticed here is I was filing, and because I did have the glue on top, I could still feel the border there. So I went ahead and grabbed my e-file, my sanding band. I think this is a 150 sanding band. Again, it's at the lowest setting. Anytime you're using a sanding band or you're using the e-file to the natural nail or close to the natural nail, you want to go on the lowest setting, and you want to use a bit that's made for the natural nail. So here again, I'm just trying to smooth out that border that I feel between where I glued the tip to the natural nail. So I'm feeling for that right now. And just gently, as you can see, I'm not trying to touch the natural nail. I'm just staying right on the edge of the plastic tip, and then just smoothing it out without touching the natural nail and avoiding any natural nail damage. And again, when you're using an arbor band, you don't want to go, I would say, over 3,000 really, or it gets hot. Here again, I'm using my brush that I sprayed with alcohol. Now my alcohol is 70% isopropyl. That's better than 99% for your clients because it's less drying than a 99% alcohol. 99% alcohol is good to like clean your table, clean your appliances, just wipe stuff down. But for your clients, you probably want to stick with 70% isopropyl alcohol just to make sure you're not over drying their skin. That's, rubbing alcohol, so it's just more gentle. And again, here I came back with my file because I just want to make sure these are perfect. Sometimes you might not have to do this so many times when you have a real hand, but I just find that when I'm practicing, because the hand wobbles and it moves and it's not a real nail that I'm working with, sometimes you have to perfect things a little more. So here I'm just doing a check on length. Then we always flip the client's hand or customer's hand to make sure that everything's even. So here now, I'm just gonna round the edges a little because they're a little, what do you call it? Oh shoot, I just forgot the word. But I'm rounding the edges. You guys get it. A sharp. They're a little sharp on the edge, and I'm not looking for a sharp. You probably don't have to do this because you are going to put acrylics on this, and then you're going to reshape anyways. So I could probably skip this step. I'm just doing overwork. Now I found that these tips, they're not the best tips, okay? I got them either at Amazon or at my local nail supply store. There were, I just bought them to practice, so I did not invest in really good tips. So I found that I still needed to grab my scissors and just cut a little bit on the sides, because I noticed with these tips, because I've done this before, I said, if you leave them, even though they look straight and square, once the acrylic goes on, they still look a little wide. And I just don't like them looking wide. So I did clip a little bit on the side. Here I am spraying my alcohol on my brush and cleaning. I just really found that putting the alcohol in a spray bottle really works for me. And just please, please, please make sure to always label your bottles with the product that you're using so there's no accidents. Here I'm using the Mia Secret Nail Prep. This is just a dehydrator. You could just use a lint-free wipe and the alcohol for this, or you could use a bonder. It's not necessary. The bonder, like I said, you could use the alcohol, but I have it, so I'm going to use it. Like I said, it's the Mia Secret pH bonder. Just dehydrates the nail. And then of course you must always use the primer if your product requires it. Some products out there don't require primer now, but most of the time you need the primer. So the primer is a necessary step. If you miss the primer, I promise you, your nails will pop off. The primer is like the glue between your natural nail and the acrylic. So the primer really helps the acrylic stay in place, and you want a thin layer, and always avoid touching your client's skin. So, you know, that's something that sometimes people don't realize, that after months, clients can develop allergies on their skin if we're touching their skin too much with the product. So we want to avoid that. Normally us techs are wearing gloves, but really you want to avoid touching the skin at all. So here I'm using the Young Nails Cover Beige acrylic powder, and I put it on my little damper dish. I think it's called a damping dish. I'm not sure. It's a dish. It's a little dish. And the reason I do that is my acrylic is half empty, and I realized that it's just harder to grab the bead. So in these little glass containers, it's easier to grab the bead. And a little tip for you when you're pouring acrylic, use your brush as a guide for the liquid, and that way it doesn't spill everywhere. So here we are. I like to use a dampen dish with a small hole on my mask, of course. Always wear a mask. It just remember that the liquid acrylic is evaporating, so you want to have a small hole so your liquid is not evaporating so fast. So here we go. We're gonna dip it. Oh, and guys, as you saw, I have my mask. So I realized lately I have a fan, I have an extractor, I open all my windows and doors when I practice, but still sometimes we breathe those fumes and it's really bad for me. Like my throat gets really itchy and scratchy. So guys, be safe, wear your mask. I wear a mask every time I do the acrylic from now on, just to not feel that uncomfortable scratchy throat and not be breathing so much of the fumes. But yeah, if you can get a purifier, open your doors, have windows open, fans, and that's your best bet. You really don't want to be smelling these fumes too much, because it can give you a headache. It could give me a headache. The worst case is when I really have been breathing it in hard because I don't realize it. I've gotten stomach issues, so it can affect you. So wear your mask, be safe. And here, I started with the acrylic application. This is a number 12 brush, but I'm not really liking it. Again, I'm gonna stress, I'm huge on not touching the client's skin. So I prefer to use smaller brushes. I know some people like the large brushes, and I guess that makes sense if you're doing super long nails. But I'm doing short nails here. Hey, that's my dog and my cat. I'm doing short nails here, and I don't need a big brush. And yes, you see that I'm applying acrylic multiple times on the same place because it is a smaller brush. It does pick less acrylic. But for me, it's worth it because I'm not touching my client's skin. Sometimes I do notice with the bigger brushes, you're gonna touch their skin. There's like no way to avoid it, and I just don't want to give my clients any issues later on with allergies. So yeah, so I might be applying several beads over the nail and to have the consistency and the thickness that I'm looking for, more like the thickness that I'm looking for. And chicas, it's really important every time to constantly be cleaning your acrylic brush. One of the mistakes that we make at the beginning is not cleaning the brush often enough while you're working and using the tip of the brush to move the product around. As you could tell, I don't use the tip of the brush to move the product around. I'm kind of using the center of the brush to move product around and like pressing it, because if you use the tip, then the product gets in the brush and it's just harder to clean. And once you have hard acrylic in your brush, oh my gosh, you guys know. I'm sure we've all done it. Once you have hardened acrylic in the brush, it just is really hard to work with, okay? Actually, I changed brushes, if you noticed. Now I'm using my Koopa brush. It's a number 8. I have brushes that I've gotten on Amazon. I have a Young Nails brush. I have a Koopa brush. I'm not gonna lie, I tend to prefer the ones that are a little bit more brand name. They're just a little bit better quality. And that's all I'm saying about that. And sometimes they're only like a few dollars more expensive than no brand name brush. So I recommend you invest in a good brush and a brand name brush. Just know that, you know, they have the brand name, and so they have the reputation behind it, and they want to make sure they give you good quality products. So invest the extra $3, $5 and just get yourself a good brush, okay? Don't go with the no names. There's a lot of stuff on Amazon and a lot of stuff at the nail shops that, you know, come from China, and we just don't know if they're really made out of sable, or, you know, some of them are actually synthetic. They're not really, you know, animal. Yeah, it's animal hair. Okay, the brushes are made with animal hair. Sorry to say, but that's just the way it is. So yeah, here I am applying my acrylic. It's a small, short nail. So these do not have to be thick. So that's another reason why it's okay to use a small brush here, because I'm not looking for a thick nail. Of course, the longer you go, you want to have the thickness in the center of the nail, but these are short. So here we go. So I grab my liquid, I'm applying my product over product, it's okay, and I'm just working it around the nail with a little pressure. You kind of have to practice a lot to get used to managing the brush, because you kind of want to be a light, gentle touch, a speed, you know, you kind of have to be a light, gentle touch, and then like a quick brush off, you know, and that just comes with practice. So see how I'm just pressing the product on with the belly of the brush and just kind of pushing it down, not using the tip so much. The tip you use to cut off the product. So here what I kind of struggle with is the tip of the nail, because this is kind of where I need to practice tips, because my product kind of gets, I still don't know how to cut the acrylic from the edge, because it ends up going in the bottom of the nail, which later on you're gonna see I'm gonna have to file off. So that's something I'm still working on, still figuring out how to cut the product from the edge. I've seen a lot of nail techs, they just use their finger to cut it off, and that's fine if you're wearing gloves. Again, just don't get into the habit of touching the product with your bare hands. Sometimes I do it. I'm guilty of it because I don't like to practice with gloves on. In the salon, of course, we wear gloves, but it's a bad habit that we do. We start just touching the product here and there, and we think it's okay because we don't have any problems. But you know, I just keep hearing and reading a lot that it could take months before you develop an allergy, and you definitely don't want to develop an allergy to the product. So here I'm just checking for thickness and evenness, and I might come back here just checking to see where I need some more product. And I'm tapping that powder because I want that surface of the powder to be straight and even. That just makes it easier for me to pick up a bead. And like I said, if you're struggling on picking up a bead and you're grabbing directly from the acrylic jar and it's really low, that could be affecting the way you're picking up your bead. So the higher the product is to the jar and the container, the easier it is going to be for you to pick up the bead, because you could use your pinky finger to kind of lean onto the jar and then pick up. Here I'm cleaning my brush, tapping. You see how my pinky is leaning on that glass? It just makes it easier to grab product when you can use your pinky to lean on. And you'll notice in nails, the pinky is really important. The pinky, you know, like to lean your pinky to grab the product. Use your pinky for nail art, you know, to grab the brushes. So you'll see how at first, if you're just starting out or you're just an amateur, you're aficionado. I rather call you guys aficionados because I was an aficionado once. It's just going to be easier once you learn how to use your pinky finger to hold the brushes when you need to lean onto that pinky finger. And at first it's gonna feel awkward, but just keep on practicing and it's just gonna start coming out naturally. Now here I'm done. I'm just again checking for thickness. I'm gonna dump my leftover back in my container. Normally, I think in the salon you can't do this. You would wanna just grab the product that you need. And you know, because I think in the salon, I think in California, I'm not sure, I have to look into it, but you can't be using stuff directly from the container. So you have to like put it out anyway. So here I'm just filing again the sides, making sure that my sidewalls, this is just an initial, I like to file the sidewalls and the free edge slightly at the beginning, right when I'm getting ready to e-file, just so I can have a visual of what I want the nail to look like. So I just like to get rid of any acrylic leftover and pre-shape. Now I'm gonna go into this filing a lot today. I don't think it's necessary, but well, you know, when you're a beginner like me and I still don't have, you know, my acrylic application 100% where I want it. So when your acrylic application is not that good, don't worry. You could always e-file it off. Of course, with time, I'm hoping I'm gonna get faster because my application is gonna be better, and so I'll need to e-file much less. But just know that if it doesn't look good, don't worry. You could still e-file it and shape it however you want it to look at the end. Hey, that's my dog bothering my cat. Leave it alone. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm recording over this. Okay, so here I'm using my Young Nails safety bit. This is a medium coarse. I normally use the medium safety bit. I normally use the coarse bit for acrylic removal after application. But because again, these are short nails and they're not very thick, and they're not too bulky for me, I could use the medium coarse and it's just fine. And I love the safety bit, especially if you're a beginner, if you're new, because you reduce the risk of hurting yourself and hurting your client. You definitely don't want to cut your client, especially when you're getting so close to the cuticle. And so any safety bit is going to be super useful because that round tip will just block you from cutting the cuticle as much as possible. And I am going at about 6,000 to 8,000 RPMs. Now, when you start taking out bulk, you want to go fast. You want to put the speed over 6,000. If you go too slow, it's going to get stuck. It's not going to really work well. And this is not the natural nail, so we could go a lot faster. Natural nails, you don't want to go too fast. But once you're on the acrylic, you could go faster. Here I've changed the bit to my arbor band again, the one I used at the beginning to prep the nail. And I reduced the speed again to I'm about 3,000 or 4,000 RPMs. Even on acrylics, I don't go fast with an arbor band because that's just gonna create heat and I don't want my client to be uncomfortable. So I'm just smoothing out the nail right now. And so when you're prepping your nail, prepping your acrylic, you wanna start with the coarser bit and then go to a medium bit and then go to your finest bit. So you don't want to start with a fine bit and then go coarse. You know what I'm saying? You start coarse to remove bulk, then you might go to a medium to kind of start refining and still shaping, and then you could finalize it with a finer bit just to smooth out any imperfections. Here I am just smoothing it all out. And I'm actually going under the nail with a little angle. And that's because, remember you guys, I told you I struggle a lot with the product at the edge of the nail. When I use tips, my products always go under the nail because I just don't know how to cut the product off the tip. And when you use forms, you don't have that problem because there's no tip, you're forming the tip. So here again, and with the arbor band, you do want to go gently on the cuticle because you can cut someone with an arbor band. And ladies, please, and gentlemen, please always season your files. That means always use another file to file the edges of your file and your arbor band because sometimes they're so sharp, you could still cut people. So I didn't show you guys how to do that here, but I have another video where I talk about it. Maybe I could do a video just about that. So here again, the arbor band wasn't enough to remove the acrylic that went under the nail. It was just too thick. So I went back to my medium bit. I'm probably like at 4,000. Just going under the nail, trying not to touch the skin, and just removing that excess that went under it. So am I spending a lot of time filing and shaping? Yes, I am. But you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do for the nails to look good. I'm not saying take too long, but I'm saying also don't be so quick that you miss quality, you know? How many times have we gone to the nail salon? And how many times have I gone to the nail salon and walk out with my nail stuck to my skin where I have to peel off my skin from the acrylic nail and just wait a day or two for all that to fall off? I don't like that. And I don't want to give that to my customers. I want them to leave with beautiful nails and with no product on their skin, with no acrylic sticking on their skin. So here you always want to flip your customer's hands. You would also do this in real life. You always want to flip their hand because this is the way they're going to be looking at their nails, like once you flip it. And so they do look different, you know, from the other way. You might be looking at them and they look straight to you, but as soon as you flip them, you could see where they're crooked. So always, always, always flip your customer's hand. And to give them the final shape, so you make sure it looks straight when they're looking at it, because that's the most important. What they're looking at, they're going to be looking at this set for 2 to 3 weeks, and you want to make sure they like it. So here again, I'm just shaping, giving the final touches. I'm going back with my hand file and just giving it that final touch, just getting close to the cuticle, making sure everything smooths out, that there's no bumps or ridges. Yes, I already did this with the e-file and the arbor band, but just sometimes you just have to go in there with the hand file. You know, there's still a whole bunch of bits that I haven't tried out, so I'm sure There's bits out there where I could use instead of hand filing. So that's something that I'm looking into, because I see a lot of nail techs, they just don't go in with a hand file. They just do everything with an e-file, but I think you just have to have the right bits for it. So I don't have the right bits. I don't have diamond bits. That's really what I think that they're using. And so that's just something that I have to, that's on my list. That's on my purchasing list. But hey, I love this file for that reason, because the Tammy Taylor file, I'm not sponsored by them or anything. It's just one of my favorite files. Like, and they're affordable. They run about 80 cents a file, because like they stick on to the plastic handle, and it's a high quality file. It runs about 80 cents. I got these on Amazon if you don't want to go to her website, and they cost the same. And yeah, because hand files are expensive. They're $1 to $1.50, and they're disposable. So you're not supposed to use them on other people. It's once per client. So here I'm just using, I think this is a 180 buffer. It's just a buffer. You know, a lot of people don't like to buff their nails. And I was doing that, but you know what? I actually like to buff my nails. So I will buff it. It's just a question of preference. Everybody has their style. And like I said, some people are using the e-file, and some people have the diamond bits, which is, you know, they could probably have like a fine diamond bit, and that's what they buff with. So if you don't have that, no worries, just grab a buffer. I got these at the local nail shop. I got a whole bunch for like, you know, I got a whole bunch. I don't even remember for how much, but it wasn't expensive at all. And again, these are one time use. All this stuff is one time use. I recommend, even for your practices. Well, for my practices, I do reuse my nail file a few times, because, you know, I want to save money, but don't overuse it, because that's going to affect your practice time too. But for clients, always, please always use a new file, a new buffer. Don't risk it. It's not worth it. If it's expensive, just charge your clients accordingly, so that you may be able to purchase the products that you need. And if they complain about the price, just tell them, hey, I'm doing this for your safety. I'm using a new file for every client, and that's it. I mean, I could assure you how many times, because this happened to me before I went to nail school and I got my nails done. I didn't know this, but I went to nail salons, and I noticed that they use files on me, but I didn't know any better. Now I know. So yeah, they might be cheaper at the quickie nail salons, but you might also get an infection, a disease, or even lose your nail. So you know what? If they think you're charging too much, then you get another client. Someone that appreciates the safety and the quality that you're using. Here, you always have to keep looking to make sure that before you apply that coat of gel, just want to make sure that that nail looks good. Because if it doesn't look good, if it's not smooth, if it's not even, it doesn't matter how much gel you put on top of it, it's not going to look good. It's just like your skin, you want that even face before you put the makeup, just so it looks a little better. So here we are, just removing that bottom acrylic that got stuck. You guys could see how it's sticking out there. And I'm gonna come back with my nail file. I just want to make sure these look nice. Again, just checking that the length is there, that they're even and they're straight from my client's perspective. I'm spraying my alcohol on my brush and just want to get rid of all of that dust before we move forward. Always brush down. Okay, don't brush up. They'll splash onto your eyes, her eyes. Here's the Burano nail foil glue. So this is how we do it. You're gonna grab you're gonna apply a thin layer all over the nail. Actually, if you buff the nail, it really helps out. And another thing that I forgot to do here is put base coat. I've noticed that if you do a base coat before the glue, it works even better, okay? Or buff the nail, but really, the base coat actually helps. And you're gonna put this in the light for 1 minute. That's per their instructions. Now I got this jar at Michael's. I love this jar. And I just used it to put in the foils that came in with the kit that I got on Amazon. I got a kit on Amazon. I think it was like $15. It came with 60 foils and 2 nail glues and like a pressing stick or like a wand. You'll see it in a minute. But for the longest time, I didn't know where to store these foils, and then I just saw this jar that was super cute, and I just figured a way, just kind of roll them in there, and it works. But yeah, I recommend, because a lot of times people put the gel color on the nail and then they put the foil over. You won't need a base coat for that. You know, it's the gel color, the glue, then the foil. Here, because there's no gel, I recommend to put a base coat, even though I didn't do it, but it is better because I've done it before and I forgot that step. But I just came out of the light, and do one at a time. I was doing multiple nails at the same time and it just doesn't work the same. So here, like, you're gonna apply the foil where you want it and press it down evenly through the center, then the sides. Now I want this foil to cover the whole nail. Some foils is just a streak of foil on the nail and you just peel it off fast, but this is not like that. I want this foil to cover the whole nail. So that's the wand, the white one. I don't really like it. I use it, but it's very flimsy. So when you put a lot of pressure, because I put a lot of pressure on the film, because I've had issues with this glue before, and that could just be because I'm not using it right. I was setting it for 30 seconds. It doesn't work. You have to do the whole minute. And then some products, you don't even need to put it in the light, some glue, but the Burano glue, you have to put in the LED light, okay, for 60 seconds. And then just press hard. And my other tip is just do one nail at a time. You know what I mean? I've done it before where I'm doing multiple nails, and I don't know if the glue like just dries out. I don't know if it does or not, but I just found that just doing one at a time, I have a better result, and so that's what I'm doing here. So here I'm applying a thin coat of the nail foil glue per their instructions all over. And again, buff it or put the base, because if you don't, I noticed that the glue pulls in, and then when you go to apply your foil, it doesn't stick everywhere because the glue pulled away, if you guys know what I mean. Okay, came out of the light after a minute, and I really like to be efficient with my foil. So I'm using the same piece, but just the other side, and I just press firmly through the center. I mean, I do use the pen that it came with, or this wand, to get there in the corners and the edges, but it's flimsy. I'm not very happy with it. Okay, it came with the kit. It wasn't expensive, you know, but I'm probably gonna look at some other maybe tool like that I could use. And if I find one that I like, I'll definitely let you guys know. But you don't need it. You could just use your fingers like I am right here. Just going really on the edge. Just make sure you press the foil all around. Start in the center, move to the sides, go to the corners, go to the edge. Just press. You just want to make sure that when you remove this foil, everything stays behind. If you don't press enough, it doesn't come all off. Here, I'm just pressing in the residue, like kind of removing it, kind of, you see how I'm just blending in the residue and then just kind of giving it a press. And I think I'm good with that. All right. Just pressing, sometimes there's like little residue on the edge, so you just want to get rid of that before you top coat. I'm just checking it. And I think I'm gonna do the top coat. So I'm using my Tammy Taylor Flawless Finish top coat. I'm almost done with it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use that one. Just get close to the cuticle without touching the skin. Thin coat, you don't wanna flood the cuticle. Again, you wanna get into the habit of avoiding touching your customer's skin as much as possible. And you see my little pinky, how it's holding my other pinky? That's what I was talking about, getting used to using your pinky to lean in when using your brush. Okay, you see that? Just lean in, using your pinky. It really helps if you get into the habit. Some people don't realize it. I didn't know it before I started doing nails, and so if you don't use that pinky to lean onto your other pinky or other fingers, your hand is floating, and if it's just floating in the air, it gets really shaky. You just have a hard time being precise with the application because your hand is just floating in the air. You're not leaning against anything. So here you just want to make sure. Yeah, that bottle's almost gone. The Tammy Taylor Flawless, it's okay. It's a good product. Tammy Taylor's pricey though. I don't normally buy the other stuff because I think they're kind of really pricey, but I do like the files. So here I'm just gonna start at the top. I like to apply the top coat like in the center close to the cuticle, but not at the cuticle, and then just do the long sweep in the center, and then, you know, just go side to side. And again, using my pinky to lean on to my other pinky or my other fingers. And ladies, this takes time to get used to. It feels really awkward if you're not doing this, but just keep that in mind when you're painting anything, and you just need to, and you're floating and your hand is shaking, just remember your pinky. Lean in, look at other videos. You'll see a lot of these amazing nail artists. They all use this technique with their pinky, and that's something I learned in school as well. My teacher taught me to use the pinky, and it makes a huge difference. And if it feels awkward, it's okay. Let it feel awkward. Just keep doing it. For me, see, I'm touching this. I shouldn't do that. But if I don't do that, it gets on my lamp. But I should be doing that with gloves. Here I'm spraying alcohol, 70%, this time on a lint-free wipe. And I'm gonna remove the tacky layer. Now some top coats have tacky layer and some don't. It just depends what top coat you're using. If you're using a top coat that has a tacky layer formed after it cures, and I cured it for a minute because that's what Tammy Taylor says for their products, 1 minute. So it just depends what products you're using. Some products are gonna need 30 seconds, some products are gonna need a minute, some products are gonna wipe, some products you don't have to. Just read the instructions for the products that you're using. So here I'm just making sure I'm wiping off the tacky layer and removing any residues, and the nails look nice. I wouldn't do this with my clients. I'm just doing this on the hand. I wouldn't rub my client's finger with alcohol. I would probably just have them go wash their hands or something. But here I'm just doing it because because it's a fake hand and all the dust is stuck on it. On your clients, the dust doesn't get stuck. It just falls off. But always finish with some nourishing cuticle oil. This is the Young Nails Rose Hip Oil, which is nice. Just a little splat, and then just rub it in. This is my favorite part. I'm not gonna lie, I love rubbing in the oil, just giving that nourishment to the cuticle. And voila, we're done. What do you guys think of the Burano nail foil? I recommend it. It's good for beginners. It's not expensive. It's a good way to get practicing. And like I said, each product is different, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave me any questions or comments. Thank you for watching. Bye.